What is going on in today's live coaching? We're going to be talking about the top mistakes individuals make when they are trying to get published or when they are pitching to magazines. You ready? Let's go. Are you tired of the endless stream of fantasy marketing and vanity metrics? Yeah, so am I. My name is James Patrick, and I'm an internationally published photographer, media specialist, and marketing strategist. I'm also a student of professional development, and like you, I've been left frustrated by all of this influencer-driven generic advice, making us think that we are just one course, conference, or manifestation away from the life of our dreams. We need to cut through this crap and move beyond the posturing, beyond the facade, beyond the image to take real action on the real work that will create the real results. This is the Beyond the Image podcast. Good morning and welcome to our weekly live coaching here on the Beyond the Image podcast. Truly a privilege and honor that you would take some time to get a little information and get a little inspiration to help you in your entrepreneurial journey. As I mentioned at the top, today we're going to be diving into the top mistakes individuals make when they are pitching to magazines, when they're pitching to podcasts, when they're pitching themselves to digital platforms, speaking engagements. What are the things that you want to be avoiding? What are the things that potentially get your pitches ignored or thrown out? I don't know if blacklisted is a thing, but really, what are the things that are really the most egregious mistakes to be making? And by talking about these, the idea is that you'll be learning, if you're not doing these things, what you should be doing when it comes to pitching to magazines and how to position yourself and how to build the right relationships with media professionals so that you can land some absolutely amazing features. And speaking about absolutely amazing features, I don't know if you saw the number of media partners we have already for Get Published Live this year. Those are just the magazine. Oh, I'm pointing over here. Those are just the magazine partners. We have Icon Fit magazine. We're casting a cover of Icon Fit magazine. Ricochet magazine. We are casting a cover for Ricochet magazine. Inside Fitness magazine is looking for features. Portfolio magazine is casting a cover. Train magazine is looking for features. Best Holistic Life is looking for features. Personal Fitness Professional magazine is looking for features. Define Fitness magazine is looking for features. Muscle and Health magazine is looking for features. Robert Irvine magazine is looking for features. Train for Her magazine is looking for a cover. Swimlux is looking for a cover. Vitality is looking for a cover. Max Health is looking for a cover. Strong Fit's looking for a cover. FLG is looking for a cover. NEB is looking for a cover. In fact, this is not even update because since we've created this, Phoenix magazine is looking for contributors, and we just confirmed literally right before we went live that Impact magazine is looking for features for their upcoming issues. You just got to get signed up. Go to getpublished.live. You can get your early bird pass. I think there's just a few days left on the early bird pass. You can attend in person. In person, you do photo shoots, media training, and can do all the casting calls. Virtual, you get to tune in live and do all the media casting calls. So if you can't be there in person, definitely grab your virtual pass for that. The details are available at getpublished.live. Now, if you are new to the live stream, the way we do these live streams is every week we pick a new topic. This topic is on things to avoid when it comes to pitching to media outlets. And then you can ask questions at any point, whether you're tuning in on Facebook, you can just type into the chat box, or whether you're tuning on YouTube, you can type right into the comment section on YouTube, and I'll be able to answer any questions that you have live, whether it's on this topic or anything that you're dealing with within your brand, within your marketing, within your sales, within your business development. This is your time to get some free live coaching. Okay, one last announcement before we dive in. Let's bring it up here. We're doing a live session tonight. And that live session tonight is we have a guest presenter. Lindsay Cheatham is going to be doing a coaching session on building a social media strategy that gets you to stand out on social media. That's available to our Fit Business Online community. If you have any interest in that or want to know what Fit Business Online is, go to fitbusinessonline.com. We have a 10-part masterclass that helps you establish and build your fitness brand online, as well as new guest coaches every single month teaching on really great topics. So that information is available at fitbusinessonline.com. All right. So top mistakes that people make when it comes to pitching to magazines. And, the first I guess, the obvious one is they don't pitch. Um, they do not send anything out because there's the belief that they have to do something and that magazines will come to them or podcasts will seek them out or that TV stations will approach them and say, because that's how we see it. We see, I was watching that show, The Morning Show on Apple TV, and this person went viral online, and all of a sudden a morning show is showing up at our front door, knocking on our door saying, "We tracked you down because we have to have you on our show tomorrow." It's not going to happen. Most magazine editors and most journalists and it's definitely podcast hosts. They're just too incredibly busy, and they have too many opportunities coming to them that they're not going to be seeking out individuals like you or even like myself, in hopes to profile us or in hopes to um, feature us at one point. Um, so we have to approach them. We have to go to them and we have to communicate why we want to work with them or why we want that media feature. The second big mistake I see is individuals will send a pitch out. And usually the first pitch takes a lot longer than it needs to because we put a lot of time and thought and we worry, we want to make the wording right. And, I have to really make this look good. I don't want to embarrass myself. I don't want to send something that they don't like. Um, so we overthink it and we might overanalyze it. And I'll break down a very clear, simple pitch strategy during this live session to make this a lot easier. But anyway, we send out the first pitch, which takes too long, and then that's it. That's all we do. We send out one pitch. But the problem is you're not going to hear back from a single pitch. For example, 2 days ago, I sent off 30 pitches to media outlets. 30 pitches. Now, flash forward, it's been 36 hours since I did that. I've had one response from the 30 pitches, which means 29 did not respond. So what happens to those other 29? Well, most individuals, in fact, 90% of people, that's it. They'll assume, well, they're not interested. I don't have what it takes. I'm not good enough. They don't want me. And with that assumption, they never send another pitch. But with those 29 other outlets, I'm going to be sending a follow-up next week. And then in a week, I'm going to send another follow-up. It can take 8 to 12 points of contact, 8 to 12 points of contact before an editor or a podcast host or a TV show producer even notices your pitch. And that's not because your pitch is inherently poor or not up to par. It's because they just didn't notice it. They were too busy. Maybe they didn't see the email. Maybe they saw the email and thought, okay, maybe, and they put it into a folder to look at later, and later never came. Or maybe they saw and they're like, I suppose, but I'm really busy right now. Maybe they'll send another follow-up. Or, if they really want it, I'll hear from them again. Or I don't need a writer right now, or I don't need a feature right now, or I don't need an interview right now. Hopefully, I remember them when I do need someone. I mean, that's human nature. Think about all the times you get advertised for something that you don't need in this moment. Like, I think about all the landscaping advertisements I get. I get maybe every week I get 2 or 3 advertisements for landscapers wanting to landscape my yard. But if I don't need a landscaper right now, what happens to those advertisements? Thrown away. Until all of a sudden I need a landscaper, and what do? I try to think about the last one I got, or whatever the next one I get is going to be the person I call first, because now I'm in need. Now there's a need I need satisfied. So pitching is not a one-time thing. It is an ongoing process. Your goal with the pitch is not to craft the perfect pitch that is worded so beautifully, that is just fairy dusted so magically, that the second it lands in my inbox, a hole breaks in my ceiling and a light shines down on my computer so that I know this is the individual that I've been waiting for for 10 years on my show that I can finally feature. The goal with your pitch is to start a dialogue. That's it. Your goal is to start a dialogue. So following up is critically important when it comes to earning media features. And if this sounds like a tremendous amount of work, it is work, but it does not need to be difficult. And the way you make it simpler or easier to manage is to build a system that works for you. That's it. Build a system that works for you. So for myself, we have a project management dashboard that we use. And every time we send out a pitch, we just put it in the dashboard and we put the date we sent the pitch. And then there's a reminder in the dashboard to follow up. So then I follow up. Then there's another reminder. So it's just telling me, oh, yeah, by the way, follow up with these 29 companies that you're pitching to. All right. Then I'll follow up when it pings me in a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks or whatever the spacing that you are choosing to do. Now, I'm investing in a project management dashboard, but for 20 years of my career, I used an Excel spreadsheet. And you know what? That worked great. Worked just fine. Here's all the publications I'm pitching to. Here's the contact person I'm pitching to. Here's their contact information. And then every column thereafter is when I sent off a pitch. So I can just look at the spreadsheet. Okay, I haven't sent a pitch in about a month. I need to follow up with them. Oh, I haven't sent something in a little bit. I need to follow up with them. And then to make it even easier or more manageable, I just had a schedule in my calendar, something built into my calendar that this is your pitch day. This is when you send out all your pitches and all your follow-ups. So I don't have to think about it. And it's not ad hoc. It's, well, on this day, which is in my calendar, on a repeating appointment, I send off pitches and follow-ups. Simple, manageable. But this is the stuff that is kind of the overarching umbrella of this all. But let's now get into the things that one might consider egregious, the big mistakes, the things that would be red flags for a magazine editor or warning signs for a podcast host. The first is that it is very clear in the pitch that you have no idea about the media outlet, about what the media outlet does, and about who the media outlet does it for. And this is not a hard thing to figure out. By simply picking up a magazine and flipping through it, you will know what the magazine is, what they do, and who they do it for. What are the articles they're featuring? What are the sections of the magazines? What topics are they covering? That's going to tell you what the magazine is, what they do, meaning the content they do, and who it's for, who's reading this content. Listen, or just, even if you don't listen, because you don't want to spend the time, but even if you browse the topics of a podcast, you will get a better sense of what they do and who they do it for. I encourage you to listen to a little bit of a show before pitching to it. You watch one YouTube channel, you'll get a sense of the topics they cover and who they're trying to position their content to. Ultimately, as a publisher and myself, I have this podcast. I run 3 magazines and I run a digital network. It is my responsibility to create content that serves benefit to my audience. So my audience is entrepreneurs, people with individual brands that they're trying to grow their brand awareness, that they're trying to increase their authority in their field, that they are trying to generate leads potentially for their business. That's my audience. And a lot of my audience is in the health and fitness space. So all the content I create, whether it's through the Beyond the Image podcast, through Icon Fit magazine, Ricochet magazine, the iconrefined.com, it's to serve that audience. So when someone is pitching to me, I want to know that they know what I produce on my show, that they know who my show is for or who my magazine is for. So when I get a pitch to be on my podcast, and I get about a pitch or two a day now, so I'm getting about 500 pitches a year for people to be on my podcast. And if they pitch my podcast, here's an example. My podcast, I think episode 493 or something like that. Like, I think we're close to 500 episodes. So this podcast has been out for a while. Now, out of 500 episodes, over 450 of them have been about entrepreneurship, marketing, sales, business development, career growth, pitching to media outlets. Okay, yeah, someone on Facebook. Yes, 493 episodes. Oh, we also got someone tuning in from Victoria, British Columbia. Welcome. So 493 episodes. The vast majority, like 90%, have been on this topic for this audience. But if someone were to go deep into my archives, the first 30 to 40 episodes were exclusively for photographers. Only the first, I think it was like episode 44, we made the shift where we changed our brand and we changed our audience. So if someone were to only look at our first episode or our first few episodes, they would think that this show is a show for photographers. But it's not anymore. Hasn't been for a long time. We made that shift back in, I want to say 2018. So it's been like 5 years since we made that shift. So when I get a pitch and someone is talking about reaching the photography community, I know that they only looked at the first episode of my show. And they didn't even read what the show was about. Because in the show slug, in the bio of the show, it says what the show's about and who it's for. I mean, you don't even have to listen to the show to know what the show's about. Or just look at the last 5 episodes. When I worked for Max Sports and Fitness magazine, I was their lead photographer for 10 years. And in 10 years, we shot, I don't know, 110, 115 covers. The amount of pitches we got that had nothing to do with the magazine was shocking. People would pitch, for example, like we would get submissions and people would be sending like really sexy revealing photos. Like we'd get pitches of like models saying like lingerie photos or boudoir photos. Like, I'd like to be in your magazine. Well, not with these images. And to be clear, this is not being a prude and this is not being judgmental of artistic work, but the work you are sending is a clear indicator that you have never looked at the magazine to see what the magazine publishes, because the magazine would never show anything like that. It is not in their in the content they produce or in the audience they are trying to reach. So if that's your pitch, if that's your angle, that's fine, but send it to a magazine that would want to see that. Icon Fit magazine, which we launched in 2021. We just wrapped volume 5. We're going into production now for volume 6. Icon Fit magazine has always been, there's the volume 5 cover right there, which, by the way, we selected Dr. Jordan from last year's Get Published Live. So we'll be casting a new cover. Icon Fit magazine has always been about personal development. In fact, the reason it is called Icon and the reason we use the brand Icon, whether it's Icon Fit magazine or digital network Icon Refined, is we wanted to reach those who aspired for more than just pure entrepreneurship. Most entrepreneurial driven media outlets focus only on business. But to us, a true leader, And something we should all aspire to is the individual who invests in their body, invests in their mind, invests in their relationships, and invests in their business. All four areas are important. And we didn't want to call that an entrepreneur because entrepreneurs typically are those who are in that hustle and grind and kind of like burning the candle at both ends. So we called them icons. The icon was the individual who invests in all four areas of those life. Now, if you had opened up any issue of the magazine or had gone to the digital network iconrefined.com, you would see clearly that this is what it means to be an icon. And thus the content we create is about the investment in your body, in your mind, in your relationships, and in your business. So Icon Fit magazine is closer to a business magazine than it ever was a fitness magazine. So when we get pitches for someone saying, "I'd like to do a workout circuit for your magazine," we've never done a workout circuit. We will never do a workout circuit. That is not what we do, and it's not who we are doing it for. There are plenty of fitness magazines that do workout circuits. We do not classify ourselves as a fitness magazine. We classify ourselves as a personal development magazine. And you would know that if you open the magazine. And that's not a judgment if you've never seen it. Like, you don't have to look at the magazine if it's not of interest to you. But if you're pitching to it, you should. Now, contrast that to Ricochet Magazine, one of our other titles. Ricochet Magazine's about celebrating art. It's glamour, it's beauty, it's fashion, it's creative expression. So your creative photos and your creative projects, that has a home in Ricochet. And you would know that if you looked at it or just looked at the Instagram. In fact, I see we have Ryan from Lomer Photography tuning in. What's up, buddy? We just featured him in our most recent issue is in our artist spotlight. And there's an example of an individual who, when he was submitting imagery, he knew what the publication was looking for. He submitted gorgeous work, and we were proud to show it. And that's why we featured him as our artist spotlight in our recent issue. So if you haven't seen his work, go check it out. It's at Lomer Photography on Instagram. So a clear understanding that I just know who your audience is. I know what you're trying to do. And it's not extremely complicated. So the mistake is you've either submitted the wrong idea for content, you have the wrong angle, you think they have a different audience, or you've submitted like the wrong imagery. All of it just shows that you've never actually looked at the media outlet. So a quick glance at the media outlet is just going to tell you who they are, what they do, and who they do it for. All right, so I'll reveal how you incorporate that here in a second. But another mistake is the pitch is only focused on you. So the number one statement I will get when pitches come to me is, I want blank. I want to be published. I want to be a guest on your podcast. I want to be featured. So like we get this, and now like it happens on Instagram a lot where people will message our Instagram account. Like, I want to be featured in your magazine. How do I do it? I want to be published. I want to be on the cover of your magazine. How do I do it? And that's it. That's their entire pitch. I want to be. The problem with this is it is just about what you want. Now, is a magazine's editor's job to give you what you want? Not necessarily. It's their job to serve their readers. Just like a podcast host's job is to serve their audience. So when someone says, I want to be on your show, okay. For what? What do you want to be on my show for? So a bad pitch or a pitch that would raise a red flag. I want to be on your show. Here's all about me. And here's why being on your show would be good for me. I'm trying to launch my new book and I want to promote my new book on your show. I'm trying to get my app off the ground and I want more eyeballs on my app. That's amazing. Congratulations. But this is all about what I'm doing for you. I being the royal I, any media outlet is doing for you. And there's no clear description of what you're doing for us. So, for example, I'd like to be a guest on your show to talk about this. And this is whatever your idea is or your topic is. I want to be in your magazine in this section to discuss this topic. Hey, by the way, I know that in every issue of your magazine, you run a feature called The Truth About. I have an idea for the next issue on The Truth About. It shows you know the magazine. And you sent us an idea. You sent us an idea for content. We as publishers, whether it's a magazine, a podcast, a TV show, a digital network, we are in the business of finding and publishing content. So when you come to us with an idea of content. This is the content I want to contribute for your magazine, or I want to be a part of for your magazine. You're pitching content. Content may be about you, but when it's positioned as content, it removes the ego from it. I just want to be published. I know you do. It would be I've had pitches that say it would do a lot for me if I were on the cover of your magazine. I know it would. But what would that do for my magazine? What would that do for the readers of my magazine? How does that help them? What are they getting out of the transaction? Because my responsibility is to them. You could send the same pitch and say, even if you're pitching for a cover, and I'm not trying to dissuade anyone from pitching for a cover, I would like to be on your cover, and here's the angle that I feel would be important to your readers. And this is why it would be important to your readers. That's a cover pitch. That's fine. What I do not want as a pitch, and what frustrates me as a publisher, and I know frustrates both of my editors, and has frustrated every editor I've ever worked with, is when the entire pitch, the entire angle is, I want to be on your cover, and here's how big my social media following is. As if that is what is going to sell our magazine, or that is what it's going to get people to listen to my podcast. Not likely. Not likely. I actually had someone try to rent my photo studio last week, and they were like, I want to rent your photo studio. I have 13,000 followers. And I'll shout it out. Okay. I have 60,000. What are your 13,000 going to do? So then, of course, I looked at their account. And I'm going to estimate that 12,999 of their 13,000 followers were fake bot followers, and the one real one was their mom. But anyway, the size of your audience cannot be the sole thing that you're using as leverage. Lead with the idea. Lead with what you're offering. Lead with the content. That's what we care about. When I get a pitch for my podcast, like I said, I get 1 to 2 a day, about 500 a year. I won't even read who the person is. Don't care. Not at first. The only thing I look at is I will just scan the email and see what are the topics. What can they speak on? And if the topic is hard to find, I delete the email. So that's another red flag. Do not make your topic or your idea hard to find. Make it simple right away. You get like 1 to 2 seconds of someone scanning your email. What's the idea? What's the topic? What are you positioning? What are you wanting to bring to this to this magazine or to this podcast? This is what I want to do. So bold it. Make it a bullet point. If you have a couple of different topic ideas, make them bullet points. I love that because when I see bullet points, I'm like, there's the ideas. Right away, I zoom in on the ideas. And if the ideas meet what I would want to deliver to my audience, then I will read the rest of it. But I have people on my show all the time who you've never heard of. And why would you hear of them? So it's not about who they are or all this background of why they're so amazing. It's about what they are offering to my audience. And I assume they're going to know what they're talking about because that's what they're positioning, or that's their idea, or that's their topic. A simple pitch. So here's the formula. A simple formula for a pitch is a one-sentence statement of who you are, followed by what you want to do for that publication or that podcast or that TV show, followed by why it matters. That's it. That's a pitch right there. So if you notice, that's very short. It's exceptionally short. It should be short. Pitches that are too long will not be read. Brevity is your friend here. So for example, when I pitch to be on podcasts, my pitch is, my name is James Patrick, and I'm an internationally published photographer with nearly 700 magazine covers to my credit. I want to be a guest on your show to talk about the 4 steps your audience members can take to land media features. The reason is earned media is one of the fastest and most effective ways that individuals can amplify their authority and generate leads for their business. And in a very crowded marketplace, this is how your audience can stand out. That's it. That's a pitch. It doesn't need to be longer than that. It shouldn't be longer than that. You can attach your bio. You can attach a press page. You can attach a one sheet. Brief, clear, concise, to the point. This is who I am. This is what I want to do for you. This is why this would matter to your audience. So, red flags are like when it's too long or when it's hard to find the details, or when it's obvious that it's copy and pasted. And it's so obvious that the formatting of the text is all jumbled from when it was copy and pasted. Like, that's very funny when I get pitches from media or from individuals, and I can see where they copy and pasted and just changed the name of the magazine. Or when they got the name of the magazine wrong, which happens a lot, shockingly. Or when they get the editor's name wrong. Don't do that. Know who the decision maker is. Just open the magazine, find the editor-in-chief. Know the name of the podcast host. Like, I got a podcast pitch that was like, Dear Justin. No clue who Justin is. My guess is they pitched to a podcast with someone named Justin. They copy and paste and they forgot to change the name. That'd be my guess. Here's another quick one. Don't send one pitch to a bunch of media outlets at the same time, meaning you're putting them all in the CC or the BCC field. And it's just like, here's my idea, and I'm just casting it out into the ether. That's a real quick way just to get it deleted, or for it to end up in spam. But ultimately, this is about how you are positioning your idea for content. Even if the content is about you, what about you is important to the readers of this publication? What in your story or in your background or in your field of expertise are you trying to communicate to this audience? And why does that matter? Those are the pitches that stand out. So as I mentioned at the top of the show, like at Get Published Live, we're going to teach you everything. You need to know about not only how to land media features, but how to leverage them. And then you'll have the opportunity to submit to and cast to dozens of media opportunities, magazines, podcasts, TV shows, digital networks. Last year, we had 250 media features booked at the event, and I want to beat that. Every year, we've tried to beat it, and I want to beat it again. And then every year, I'm like, I don't know how we're going to beat it, but yeah, we do. So those details, once again, all right, get published live. All right, let's see who we have tuning in here. So we got Dr. Anita Mack. Welcome. Glad you can tune in. If at any point you have questions on maybe your own pitches, you can enter those into the chat box or the comment field. When I share kind of these red flags, the idea and the hope is not that I want to scare anyone or make anyone think that editors are these curmudgeon-y, angry journalists that just wait for these terrible pitches to land in our inbox. And once they land in our inbox, we just revel in how awful they are. And no, editors are actively seeking great contributors all the time. Editors need good content. So you pitching is helping them do their jobs. As a podcast host, I need guests on my podcast. So if I never got pitches for guests, I'd have to spend a lot of time and going and finding guests. So when people pitch to me, they're helping me find guests. When people pitch to my magazine and they're sending ideas to my magazine, they're helping the magazine. When people pitch article ideas to our Icon Refined network, they're helping our editor who needs content. You're helping us. So do not feel that you are bothering an editor by sending a pitch, because that's a misconception. I don't want to bother them. I don't want to come off too needy. I don't want to come off like, excuse me, like I'm too desperate. No. We might not have seen your pitch, or we might not have needed your pitch at that moment. Keep sending it and keep following up. You will not bother us. I mean, well, if you sent the pitch every day, yeah, that's going to bother us. If you sent the pitch maybe every 5 days, yeah, that might bother us. But every few weeks, that's not going to bother us. We need content. I put out 3 podcasts a week. I need content. Icon Fit magazine does 4 issues a year. We need content. Ricochet is now up to 6 issues a year. We need content. We're launching the exclusive magazine later this week. It needs content. Icon Refined publishes new content every week. It needs content. You pitching content is what helps us as publishers or as editors or as podcast hosts or as TV producers or as web editors or digital editors. It helps us do our job, which is to serve quality content to our audience. So remove the fear that you're bothering us. So then the question often comes up, well, what is an effective follow-up? Or how do I follow up? Or how do I follow up and it not be frustrating or annoying? And that's a fair question. An effective follow-up does one of a few things. It either, 1, further validates your idea or your pitch. So to go back to that example that I used earlier, which is how to get published. A follow-up might be, it is important to understand that earned media gets 4 times the engagement that paid advertising does. So if your listeners are running lots of ads, This is a way that they can save their financial resources and have a greater chance of earning leads for their business. That's further validating the idea. I could do that a few times, actually. I could send a case study. I had a client who landed a local magazine cover who was able to 2x her business leads off that one media feature. Doubled her business leads. And this is why this is important to share with your audience, or why I believe this is important. I'm excited to share it. All right, so further validation. Number 2 would be to further or add further credibility to your idea. So, for example, someone on Facebook, thank you so much for the nuggets of wisdom. Well, thank you for tuning in. I appreciate it. So, to add credibility in a follow up, what you can do is you can say, by the way, I gave a similar interview over here. And here's an example of this. Or I wrote a similar article about this over here. Here's an example of it. Or you can do something which has nothing to do with you, but has only to do with the idea itself. So, like, I could point to another article written by someone else, published in a reputable media outlet that talks about the importance of the topic. Oh, look, by the way, this is being covered by the New York Times. Look, by the way, this is being covered in, I don't know, Vanity Fair and Oxygen Magazine and in Vogue. And I want to take this idea to you. I'm going to put my spin on this idea for your magazine or for your network. So you're adding credibility to the idea, or to your ability to speak to the idea or write about the idea or be profiled about the idea in the follow-up. Okay, so that's the second thing you can do. So you can further or you can add more context, validate it, and add more credibility. Well, I didn't mention adding more context. That's actually 3 things. Adding more context is, for example, like the 4 steps to get published. I could send a follow-up and be like, by the way, here's a breakdown of the 4 steps that I'd want to talk about. Or I might send, I can also speak to how we can leverage earned media. And here's some examples of that. So that's adding further context, validation, and credibility. Another type of follow-up would be to follow up with another idea. Hey, if that idea doesn't work for you, no worries. Here's another one that I think would match what your audience is looking for. So when I'm, as a photographer, when I'm pitching to magazines and I'm pitching content to magazines, I'll send off content. And then another pitch is going to be, by the way, if that doesn't work, here's something else I did that I think would match what your audience is looking for. I'm always shooting, so I always have new content to position. Even as a writer, I'm writing all the time or coming up with ideas for articles all the time. So if someone doesn't like an idea, that's fine. Here's another one. That doesn't work. Here's another one. So if you notice, you can kind of cycle through these follow-ups and create a nearly infinite approach of being able to consistently put new pitches in front of them. You send off a pitch, validate the pitch, add more context to the pitch, validate the pitch. That doesn't work. Here's another idea. Validate the idea, add more context to the idea. That doesn't work. Here's another idea. Then you can really shake things up by not pitching anything at all. You're thinking, wait a second. So I'm pitching, but I'm not pitching. Yeah. What if you sent off an email to that podcast host just to tell them that you liked the last episode that you listened to? Or when someone sent me a message the other day, said they read my article in the last Icon Fit magazine. You don't think I'm going to notice that? Yeah. Or when someone brings up in conversation that they'd listened to one of my podcasts. Oh, it's like that time you said that thing on your show. I don't even remember it. But I sure remember who said that to me. It's affirming. Journalists and podcast hosts and magazine editors and TV producers, it's a very one-way communication. Like, this is great because, like, I get to see your comments coming up. Like, someone on Facebook pitching scared them. Ryan, this is the information I've been looking for a while. Jet, you're alleviating my fears, so keep those nuggets coming. Like, okay, so this is more of two-way, but outside of this once a week live broadcast, it's one-way communication. So it's rare we as journalists or we as producers or we as editors are receiving affirmation for the work we're doing. So when someone, we're just kind of putting articles in the void and we assume people see it. We see the hits on our website. We see the downloads on our podcast. We see the magazines being sold. That might be all we see. But when someone communicates, oh, by the way, I read this, or I saw this, or I liked your letter from the editor, this really resonated with me, or you did a great job with this, or I really like this design. Wow. Thank you. That's a very human approach. It's important to understand that when we're trying to build relationships, we do not build relationships with entities. I do not have a relationship with, I don't know, fill in the blank, fitness magazine. I have a relationship with the publisher, Tanya. I do not have a relationship with Oxygen Magazine. I have a relationship with Stacy, the art director. And we build relationships because when people move around, when things shift, our relationship moves with them. So, an example, I've been working with a company for 15 or so years, and I had multiple relationships with individuals at this company. And I was getting lots of work for them. Well, one of the people I had a relationship with left the company and is now at a different company. So I have relationships with all the people who are still at that first company, but I also now have a relationship with someone who's at the new company. So now I have two companies hiring me for this type of work because my relationship went with the individual. It doesn't matter what you do, you're in the relationship business. And you build relationships by knowing what people need, by presenting yourself, by delivering great results on what you said you were going to deliver, and by staying in touch. That's how we become a valued resource for an individual. And that's getting published in a nutshell is that right there. Oh, Yana's tuning in. Good to see you, Yana. All right. Someone on Facebook. AI is also great for generating pitch ideas that are SEO based. Here is a freshly generated list. Pitch away. 10 simple and effective workouts for busy men and women. The benefits of strength training for women over 40. Healthy meal prep ideas for men on the go. How to stay motivated during your fitness journey. Top supplements every man should be taking for optimal health. The importance of rest days. Why taking a break is key to success in fitness. 7, it cut off. But you get the idea. Hey, what a great little hack right there. Used was it ChatGPT? As long as there are topics you can speak on. And what this is doing, by the way, which I think is kind of cool, is it's helping you phrase it. So one of the things that can help in your pitches is to just read headlines or read the titles of podcasts, or pick up any magazine and read all the cover captions on it. Those are all headlines. And they're worded in such a way that is trying to get you to read them. So if the ideas you're pitching are worded this way, it would probably stand out to the editor. It would bear to reason that if editors are using these headlines as invitations and as ways to encourage readers to consume the content, that if we are using the same wording or the same phrasing or the same approach to our sentence structure and to the words we choose to get the editor's attention, well, that it would have a higher chance of resonating. Absolutely. Patrick Savage. Yeah. Sometimes just coming up with the idea can be the hard part. Sure. I get that. Yeah. Use it as a brainstorming session. I just look at like, what are the top questions you get asked anyway? I was talking to a client yesterday on a call. And, when we think about differentiating ourselves, and I bring this up as this is a great way to think about ideas for topics. There are really just like three ways that we try to differentiate ourselves, but most people only focus on one in our unique selling position. The first level of differentiation is who it is for, who your product or your service or your brand is for. I'm targeting women over 40. I'm targeting postpartum moms. I'm targeting dads over 50 with a dad bod. Okay. And that's the first idea we have, or the first uh, really threshold we have of thinking about how to differentiate ourselves. But when industries become oversaturated, picking a niche target demographic is not enough or no longer is unique. So, for example, my client had created a program that was for postpartum moms to get back in shape. Well, when she created this program and had this target market like 10 years ago, no one else was doing it. A decade later, lots of people are doing it. So that target market isn't so targeted anymore. It's broad, it's opaque, it's saturated. So the second way that you can differentiate yourself is by the product or service that you are releasing. You have a different approach. You have a different methodology. You have a different system for this audience. And having a different product or service or approach or methodology can now open up your audience because you're using the differentiation in your approach as what stands you out from competitors. So, for example, this is what I do, which is there are lots of business coaches out there. And there are lots of business coaches in every major subset of target audience. But how many business coaches focus on landing media features as the primary strategy for authority amplification lead generation? Hard to find. That's why I leaned into that. Yes, I could have, for a while I was leaning into, I coach health and fitness professionals, but too oversaturated, too many people doing it. Okay. So I can change the focus of my service or the methodology or the system. All right. So that's the second way of unique differentiation. The third way of unique service proposition or unique selling proposition is you promise a different result. You promise a different outcome. And this is kind of like the ultimate thing. While everyone else is promising this, I'm over here promising that. And that's going to stand out. That's different. So, working with my client yesterday, we're leaning into a different outcome for her and the evolution of her brand because she's fully succeeded in targeting the audience. But now, 10 years later, she needs a maturing or an evolution of what she's trying to deliver. So, yes, the audience changes a bit, but it's still a saturated audience. So she has to deliver a unique outcome. an outcome that people care about, an outcome that matters, an outcome that no one else is promising. So those are the three ways that we create USPs. Yes, you can target your audience, and if it's not saturated, great. You use a unique approach or system or methodology or service or product to achieve a result, or you promise a different result or a different outcome. Now, those three things now become topics that you can speak on. Why is this idea important? Why is no one else doing this? Why does this matter? Why this outcome matters? What is so important about this outcome? Why people need to be aware of this outcome? Why no one is serving this target audience? Why we need more focus on this group? All these are content ideas. You are now, and let's broaden the scope of this. You too, everyone tuning into this, are a publisher because the content you are positioning, excuse me, to magazine outlets is the same content that you should be creating and disseminating to your own audiences. This is how you create social proof. When someone goes to a magazine and says, "Well, I just want to inspire others. That's why I want to be published. I want to inspire others." And we go to your accounts and you're not doing anything to inspire others, it kind of throws your whole pitch out the window. Show us you want to inspire. You want to inspire others. Inspire others. You have a platform, you have an Instagram, you have a voice, you have a camera. Start inspiring. That'd be a really fun audio clip. I hope my Kaylin's my audio editor. Kaylin, pull that as my audio clip for this episode. Excuse me. You want to inspire others? Start inspiring. Okay. This is how we come up with content for all of our platforms. The content for the podcast, the content for my newsletters, our blogs, our emails, our SMS. What problems are we solving? What are the questions we're getting? What are we doing that's unique? What can we deliver to our audience that matters to them, that helps them achieve the outcome they're looking for? Because ultimately, one of the things of earned media is our audience is a mirror of the audience we're trying to reach through earned media. When we go to media outlets, we're going to media outlets that have the audience that we're trying to tap into, which is a lookalike of the audience we already have. So it makes sense that the content we're positioning to our audience is the content we would want to position to media outlets and vice versa. So if you want to teach about the importance of something or the value of something or the benefits of something, start doing it. So that when you go to a media outlet and say, "I really want to talk about this," and they go to your account and they see that, "Oh, you do a lot of this," it further validates your positioning. This is how we establish ourselves as subject matter experts, as authorities within our field. Okay. Let's see. There's always room at the top for people willing to put in the work. Yeah. I don't even know if there is a top. Just put in the work, you'll get results. Here's the thing about getting published is it's not a question of if, it's just a question of when you're going to get published. I've never had a client who did the work and did the follow-ups who didn't earn media. It's never happened. There's too many outlets. There's too much potential. There's too many opportunities. There's too many things out there that you can position yourself to. Preach on. Well, thank you. I'm not going to anymore because I don't know if you've noticed, my voice is about to give out again. And I don't want it to be like, what was it, 2 weeks ago, where I sound like I was going through my my midlife puberty. So I'm gonna make some tea, give my voice a rest. Appreciate everyone jumping on. This was a fun, very active live coaching session. As I mentioned, early bird passes are available for getpublished.live. It's open to anyone who's looking to land media features for their brand or for their business, whether you're an influencer, a contributor, a writer, a photographer. Regardless of what you choose to do, this is about how you personally can leverage the power of media and how you personally can land media to amplify your business awareness, your authority, and to generate leads for your business. Excuse me. We'll be doing another live session tonight with our Fit Business Online community on social media strategy. So if you're interested, go to fitbusinessonline.com to check that out. As always, if you have any questions, you can text me directly, 480, there it goes, 480-605-3254. Ask me any questions you have on marketing, on sales, on business development, on media pitching, whatever you want to know. You can ask me directly. Or if you have ideas that you'd like to see on the show, you can text me. Say, hey, cover this on next week's show, because I'll just create topics that you want me to talk about. So that's it for me. Thank you all so much for tuning in. It was so awesome to see so many great faces on here. Lori's on here. Thanks, James. You're awesome. Well, you're awesome for tuning in. Hope everyone has an amazing rest of your day. We'll talk to you soon. Take care, everyone.